when I find a guy that's better. Nah, these boys in books are better, 'cause they'll be here forever, and we'll always be together.
Hi there. So yeah, this was kind of spontaneous. Basically, the last couple of days, or maybe even 2 weeks, I've had this really weird feeling of having no idea what I want to read, and I've started like 3 books and none of them felt right, and it was the beginning of a reading slump, and I felt no excitement to read, but at the same time I really wanted to read, but I just couldn't find the right thing. So yeah, basically I kind of wanted to get out of that weird feeling and that weird like not knowing what to read. Yeah, and I thought, you know what, I have an actual weekend, which is kind of yeah, unusual for me. I work most Saturdays, as you do in retail, but I thought, you know what, I have Saturday and Sunday off. I'm just gonna use this opportunity and read a bunch of really small, short books and just kind of get through as many as possible with all the different topics, and just kind of, you know, just have those little taste tests and just get the feeling of finishing a book, and maybe a little help. And I think it did, because I read a lot of books and I felt really good about it, and I also like felt excited for all of them, and I really enjoyed reading them, and I do already know what I want to read next. So I think it worked. Yeah, I kind of just picked out all the really short books, so like most of these are under 100 pages, one is 160 I think. Just all of those from my to be read shelf, and I just like jumped into it and read them, and I also didn't think too much about when to read which one. I just kind of picked them off the pile and just read the next one, and it felt really exciting. So yeah, let me tell you what I read and what I thought. The first one was the Girl Manga. I'm so excited about this, and now that I've read it, I'm even more excited. So the young adult novel Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell is being transformed, adapted into a manga series, and this is the first part, and it's so well done. It looks so pretty, the characters are so well adapted. It's actually been a while since I've read the book, but I felt right into it, and like it really gave me that spark, you know. I'm actually kind of mad that I have to wait for the next part now. I think there's gonna be 4 parts, and I think the second one hasn't even been announced yet, like when it's gonna be released, so that's kind of annoying. But yeah, it felt so nice. Also the Simon and Baz fanfiction pages are really pretty. They're like sprinkled throughout, and yeah, it's a lot of fun, and yeah, it was a quick read, but it also was a really nice read. Another really quick read is I Know This to Be True about, I guess, Simone Biles. This is a new little series that's in cooperation with the Nelson Mandela Foundation. I think they have 7 titles at the moment. If I remember, and if I can find a link, I'm gonna leave it down below so you can check this out. But basically, these are these really short little books. They are mostly just interviews with people who have some sort of public platform or some sort of influence. So like Greta Thunberg, for example, is also one of them. And I just picked Simone Biles as my first read of the series because I'm just really fascinated by her. And yeah, it's just this interview with them, but it's not so much about them as a public figure or them as like the thing they're famous for. So with Simone Biles, it's not mostly about her gymnastic career, but it's more about their moral standpoint and their outlook on life and how they think that they can use their position to influence other people in a positive way. So it's a really interesting introduction to them as a person, And I really enjoyed getting to know Simone Biles this way, because so far I've only seen like videos of her doing her gymnastic routines, which is really impressive as it is. But now that I know more about her as a person and her like family story and her like moral standpoint in life, I really want to know more about that. And I do already know that she has written an autobiography, so I'm definitely going to check that out. But I'm also going to check out more of this series, because I think it's a really, really nice thing to have this introduction and to have this little glimpse of the person from that standpoint and from that viewpoint. I think it's a really interesting idea. And the next book I read was 7 Kinds of People You Find in Bookshops by Simone Biles. This was gifted to me from my best friend, and it has the Shakespeare and Company Paris little logo in it where she bought it. So yeah, perfect gift. I love Simone Biles' book. I've read his other 2 books that are sort of like diaries of a bookseller. That's actually titled, wow. And he's just really witty and funny. And yeah, again, really short book. And I did make notes of my customers to sort them into those 7 types of people. So this book can never see the light of day, because I'm actually like not allowed to talk about my customers that way. So this is now kept in a safe space. But yeah, it was really, really fun, especially like if you're a bookseller, his books are just so funny and relatable. And the way he writes is just hilarious. I love his books. And again, this was just, yeah, amazing to read. I had such a good time with it, and I felt really seen. Then the one that I said is a little bit longer. It's 190 pages actually, the longest one in the pile. This is 5 centimeters per second by Makoto Shinkai. This is the latest novelization of one of his stories. As with his other popular stories, there's also an anime and a manga to this. But I have found, particularly with Makoto Shinkai, that I actually enjoy his novels the most. I just find that the way he writes scenes and scenery and surroundings is really not just beautiful, but it's like, oh, it's so atmospheric. You really get the feeling you're there. And obviously with like a manga and an anime, you get that feeling through the visuals, but the way he chooses words and the way he lets the protagonist exist in a space is just, I really, really enjoy that. And particularly in this one, because it starts with them being little kids, and he really like nailed that way of how do kids see the world. It's really fascinating. I really, really enjoyed the book. It was such an interesting story because it wasn't as big as the other stories I know of Makoto Shinkai. There's no like fantasy aspect, there's no magic, there's no big twist or anything. It's just a story of people, and I found it so calming and sweet and honest, and I really, really enjoyed it. Next I read Hannah Arons' Was heißt persönliche Verantwortung in der Diktatur? This is basically a speech written into an essay about personal responsibility in a dictatorship. And she originally gave the speech in context of like legal actions against Nazi Germany, basically. And there's some really, really interesting moral standpoints and moral questions, and basically it goes from like political to societal to moral to personal, and she just asks these questions and she does give answers, but I also think it's really good for the reader to ask those questions themselves and to then think of what my answer would be, and like where I see myself in this moral zone and where I think humanity is in this moral zone. So it's a really interesting essay, and sadly but obviously it also has some modern implications at the moment. So yeah, definitely recommend reading this. I think there's some stuff in there that we could all remember, please. And finally this weekend I read We Life Part 6 and 7. This is a manga series about kind of like this sci-fi chemical organization, and the main character is 27 and has kind of failed at life. He doesn't have a job, he doesn't have friends, he doesn't really know what to do, and this organization approaches him and gives him this pill with which he can turn 17, go back to high school and basically restart his life, hence We Life. And yeah, it's kind of that story, but it's mostly about his personal growth, what he does with his second chance, and also kind of the mystery of there might be other people who are doing a real life but no one knows, and like the relationships between all those people. And it's such a weird one because, as I said, I'm on part 7 now and I'm still not sure if I like the story or if I want to continue reading this, but every time when the next one comes out I do buy it and then I eventually also read it. And I do enjoy the characters and the story, but it's so slow, and I just wish they'd pick up the pace a bit, because it's feeling like I do want to continue the story, but whilst reading one book I kind of lose patience every single time. So every time I'm done with one part of the manga series, I feel like I don't want to continue reading the story because I'm so exhausted from that one part, and it kind of feels like nothing happens in one part. But then the bigger story overall in these past 7 ones was really interesting, and I want to continue this and I want to know what happens, and I don't know what to do here. But yeah, I did read them. And as I said, I enjoyed them whilst reading, but I'm once again at the point where I'm like, do I want to read part 8? Probably, but maybe not. I don't know. But yeah, either way, I read 7 books this weekend. Oh, let me get these. 7 books this weekend. I think that's pretty impressive. I know they're like manga and short stories and interviews and really short books. As I said, most of these are under 100 pages. But I think I really nailed it and I really enjoyed it. It was such a fun experience, and I said I'm kind of on this high of finishing so many stories now and I really enjoy it. It was such a fun thing to do, to just kind of go through them and just, I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you always have a reason to smile, and I shall see you soon. Bye!